Welcome to the United States of Small Business, a podcast where the essence of American entrepreneurship is celebrated in every episode. With host John Quick at the helm, join us as we embark on a journey through the heart of the nation, uncovering the inspiring stories of small business owners from coast to coast. Experience the vibrant energy of bustling cities and the serene beauty of small towns, all while discovering how individuals are turning their entrepreneurial dreams into reality, even against the greatest odds. Each episode brings you face to face with the dreamers, creators, and doers who form the economic backbone of our country, all sharing their spirit of innovation and resilience. Whether you are in the early stages of sowing the seeds for your own business, scaling new heights in your current venture, or simply captivated by tales of grit and triumph, you are in the right place. Tune in on platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and beyond. For deeper insights and to connect with the heart and soul of America's main streets, visit UnitedStatesOfSmallBusiness.com. Subscribe to United States of Small Business with host John Quick now and be inspired by the powerful stories of entrepreneurship, community, and the unwavering pursuit of the American dream. Begin your journey of inspiration with us today.
Welcome, everybody, to the United States of Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, John Quick. Today, we have the pleasure of hosting Greg Devore, an exceptional entrepreneur, CEO, and author. Greg's unique journey began with a degree in film scoring from the Berklee College, but he transitioned into the tech industry, co-founding ScreenSteps with his brother. For 20 years, they bootstrapped their business before securing VC funding in 2023. Greg is passionate about improving how businesses transfer knowledge to their employees and co-authored the book, Find and Follow. Join us as we explore his remarkable story and invaluable insights. So without further ado, Greg, welcome to the United States of Small Business Podcast.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much.
Well, this will be fun hearing a little bit about your story and your journey. You have a fascinating one. First, Greg, your journey from film scoring degree to co-founding a successful tech business is fascinating. Can you share how your background in music or film scoring has influenced kind of your approach to starting up a tech company?
Well, really, it all happened by accident. So, I was in the film music industry. I graduated from the Berklee College of Music, but my first son was born very premature and had a lot of medical needs. And at the time, if you were an independent musician, with a son with those challenges, you weren't going to get health insurance. So that's what's caused the career shift. And some opportunities came up, and my brother and I founded this company. I had worked teaching music studios how to use recording software, and somehow got a job teaching doctors how to use ultrasound machines, and applied some of the same principles, and we grew the company from there. We bootstrapped it for 20 years.
Nice. So ScreenSteps, tell folks what it is, that maybe they're going to be Googling it, but tell folks a little bit about what it is your company does.
Well, it started out as just a little simple utility to create a simple how-to guide. That was the problem we were trying to solve. Over 20 years, it's evolved into what we call a knowledge operations platform. And it's a tool for transferring knowledge to your employees and customers more quickly.
That's awesome. So bootstrapping a business for 20 years is pretty remarkable achievement. What were some of your biggest challenges you faced during this period? And what motivated you to kind of finally seek the VC funding back a couple of years ago?
Yeah, the biggest challenge was, when you're bootstrapping, you don't have a lot of resources. And we were, a tech company. So we're competing against organizations that are much larger than us. You have to figure out, okay, what's my niche? What's my insight that I can apply that other people aren't doing? And so we really dug into not just the technology of how do I create a how-to guide or create a knowledge base, but what are the behavioral changes, the cultural things that need to change in an organization so that it stops relying on tribal knowledge and starts relying on guided knowledge, makes everybody more productive. So we went back, we'd see some customers that were super successful and some that, nobody ever used anything they wrote down. It was a big waste of time. We kind of embedded on those teams that were successful and tried to learn from them. And then we'd come up with a formula and say, hey, if we apply this formula to the next customer, will it work? And something would work and sometimes it wouldn't. So we'd go back and we'd redo the formula and we'd redo the formula until we got it to a place where every customer that applies it it works. And we call that our find and follow framework. So the reason we took on the VC funding, a couple things. One, we found the right partner. It was somebody who was aligned with what we wanted to do, how we wanted to grow the business. But also, we felt like we'd finally found that solution of that recipe of this isn't only how you put in place some software. This is how you really change the culture and the behavior in the business to rely on that guided knowledge instead of tribal knowledge.
That's awesome. So you mentioned you co-authored a book, Find and Follow. Kind of what led you to co-author that book, and give us some of the juicy details of what somebody could find if they get themselves a copy of the book.
Well, really, we found that when we tried to explain what we were doing, it was very hard to fit it into a small soundbite. It's a very different way of working. It's a different way of training, but it produces dramatic results. For example, we had one client, it would take 12 months before an employee could get to a place where they could work independently. Well, they've applied this framework. They've reduced that down to less than 60 days. So you're saving 12 or 10 months in that onboarding time. We see productivity double. And so the purpose of the book was to tell these stories and really lay out the framework, help people reframe how they're looking at employee training. Because our traditional methods of employee training, it's impossible for them to work. There's too much complexity. There's too much change in the workplace nowadays. And so Find and Follow presents you with a different strategy for transferring knowledge that can produce dramatically better results.
That's awesome. So ScreenSteps, is it just for medium-sized businesses, small businesses, startups, or is it for everybody kind of in between? Who's kind of the ideal customer or your average customer?
So let me just talk to you about like the small business, the medium business, the enterprise, because we have customers in all those tiers. If we start at the enterprise, right, you've got large teams and especially you have customer-facing employees. It's really about how do we make sure that our employees are consistent, that when you call up, you're going to get the same answer, and that people can handle problems on their own that may be very complex. When you get down into the medium-sized business, they're really feeling this because they, that escalation really just goes up maybe 1 or 2 levels, and it really burdens their leadership team because they're constantly answering questions. So it can help create more independent teams, help them scale up more quickly. For the small business, it depends on the state of the small business. If you're in this mode as a small business where you're trying to still figure out your procedures, then Find and Follow you're not quite ready for Find and Follow yet. But if you've got procedures and you're the one that's having to answer all the questions, how do I do this? And how do I fix that? And how do I handle this situation? Then it can really free up a founder or a business leader to spend their time in, those higher level, those more important areas, and delegate effectively these other tasks to other people on their team.
That's awesome. So, I think this could be a useful tool for a lot of folks. A lot of listeners here on the podcast are small business owners, entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs. Talk to me a little bit about how a really good onboarding process like the one you've developed can help employees get to work faster. Because I think a lot of frustration with folks that, own their own businesses where they're hiring people, let's say a coffee shop, for an example, well, it's going to take them 6 months before they know even how to make a drink, or it's going to take them 9 months before they learn our culture of our company. How does somebody onboard somebody, in 30 days or less and get them to become successful?
Yeah, it's a great question. So typical onboarding, I'm going to come in, maybe you give me some orientation to the company, but then I'm basically going to shadow people for a very long time. Shadowing means I'm going to follow them around and watch what they do and learn from them. And that is a very difficult way to learn. You're not going to be able to get to a place where you can handle things on your own for many months. The way Find and Follow designs onboarding is before you hire the person, you do a deep analysis of what they're going to do. What are the questions they have to answer? What are the problems they have to solve? What are the tasks they have to perform? And you create a detailed inventory. We call it our Find and Follow workshop, so you can understand exactly what they need to do. And then you need to answer the question, when they can't remember how to do this, what is that employee going to do? And if you want them to ask you, then just put ask me for everyone, but that's not going to be very effective. More effective is going to be to build out either a checklist, a reference article, or a decision tree. So if the answer is, how do I do this? It depends. You want some sort of decision tree. That's what we do in our software to help guide them through that process. If it's just, do these 10 or 20 steps, make a checklist for it. If it's, 3 things, make a quick reference article. But you're going to have a place where they can go for each of those. So now the onboarding becomes you come in and I'm going to give you a 15-minute orientation about a topic of our business. And then we're just going to run practice activities. I'm going to say, somebody wants a refund. What would you do? Somebody wants to, has a question about this. How would you answer it? And they're going to search the digital guides for each of those answers. And you're, as a trainer, you're not going to give them any help because you're training them to be independent. So they're going to find those, they're going to follow those. And they gain much more confidence. They're able to be productive much more quickly.
That's awesome. So let's say you could take a time machine 24 years back and tell yourself some advice when you started day one in this journey. What advice would you give yourself?
First is really lean into your customer problems. Don't just do what they ask you to do. Try to understand what they're really trying to accomplish that maybe they can't even see. And then try to figure out not just a quick fix for that problem, but really the whole solution so that you can improve their situation. And the second thing would be, there's going to be many times when you're running a business that you're going to panic, that there's going to things. And if you can just keep a cool head, troubleshoot the problem, you're going to survive. You're going to find a way to get through it.
That's awesome. So who's somebody that you've kind of looked up to along your journey? I think it's remarkable that you've been at this for over 2 decades. You've had to have some motivation come from somewhere. Who's somebody that's kind of been a hero in your life and why?
I really love the writings and teachings of Clayton Christensen. If you've ever heard of the Innovator's Dilemma or the Innovator's Solution, I loved the jobs to be done theory, way of selling and designing products. I've really admired his work and how he thinks about things. So that's been really influential to me and our company as we've progressed.
Nice. So folks will be listening. They're going to want to say to themselves, man, I need to get a hold of this. I need to get a hold of Greg. I got no training. My onboarding takes 5 years. I don't know what I'm doing. What's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you? And, are you on social media? Give us all those details.
Yeah, if they want to get a hold of me, I'm on LinkedIn. So just look for Greg Devore on LinkedIn. You can also go to the company ScreenSteps.com, or you can look for the book Find and Follow by Greg Devore and Jonathan Devore on Amazon, and you'll find it there.
Nice. Well, we'll put all those links in the podcast description. 15 minutes here has gone by in a flash. Greg, you had any last minute thoughts before we head off?
Just that the world is changing. Change is happening faster. Technology, while it enables a lot of simple stuff, it leaves us just with the complex work. So we need to rethink the way that we transfer knowledge. And when we do that, we can become massively more productive.
Well, that's awesome. I really appreciate you joining us, Greg, here on the United States Small Business Podcast. We'll put all the links in the podcast description for folks listening in. We hope everybody has a phenomenal rest of their week. Until next time, I'm John Quick from the United States Small Business Podcast. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.